You know what? Mike called after Patricia's retreating form. I think I'll install wind chimes too. Lots of them. Sarah elbowed him hard. Don't antagonize her. She admitted to trespassing. Mike hissed, watching Patricia's stiff-backed march across her meticulously edged lawn. The Yorkie trotted beside her, its rhinestone collar catching the afternoon sun. And now we know to change our locks and security codes, Sarah said pragmatically. But we still have to live next to her. Mike grudgingly nodded, then froze as Patricia stopped halfway across her yard. She pulled out her phone, snapped several photos of the excavator and debris, then resumed her journey to her front door. That can't be good, Sarah murmured. Mike's phone buzzed in his pocket. A notification from the neighborhood app next door. GANT. Violation of community standards at 347 Maple Drive. She works fast, Mike muttered, opening the post. Patricia's message was a masterclass in selective facts and dramatic hyperbole. Asterisk ATENTION8OMEOWERS. Illegal construction/destruction at 347 Maple Drive poses serious property value risk. Toxic chemicals leaching into groundwater. No PRMATs. Destruction of neighborhood amenities without consultation. Demand action. Calling Commissioner Wilson TODAY. Asterisk. Accompanying the text were 3 photos. A close-up of pool chemicals Mike had safely set aside for proper disposal, the excavator looking particularly menacing from a low angle, and most absurdly, a stock photo of what appeared to be an industrial waste dump that had nothing to do with their yard. Comments were already accumulating beneath the post. Asterisk, is that legal? Brenda Johnson asterisk. Asterisk, my property values. Keith Miller asterisk. Asterisk, someone should call the EPA. Anonymous asterisk. Mike's fingers hovered over his phone, ready to type a scathing response, when Sarah gently took the device from his hands. Don't engage online, she said firmly. That's exactly what she wants. Instead, Sarah snapped several photos of their yard from different angles, showing the organized dismantling process, the carefully separated recyclable materials, and the pool chemicals clearly labeled and properly stored. She composed a calm, factual post. Asterisk, hello neighbors. The Bennetts here at 347 Maple. Just wanted to share our exciting backyard renovation project. We're removing our old pool. City confirmed. No permits needed. And we'll be installing a water-efficient native garden that will actually increase property values and reduce runoff to the storm drains. Happy to answer any questions asterisk. She added a smiley face emoji and handed the phone back to Mike. Post that instead. Mike complied, then returned to the excavator. As he climbed back into the seat, he noticed the curtains at Patricia's upstairs window flutter again. This time, he caught a clear glimpse of her face, lips pressed into a thin line, eyes narrowed. She was on her phone again, gesturing emphatically as she spoke. Round 2 incoming, Mike muttered to himself, restarting the excavator. He worked with renewed determination, eager to get as much done as possible before whatever Patricia. As the morning progressed, Mike's yard transformed into an impromptu demolition site. The excavator, a compact Kubota that the rental company had delivered with minimal instructions, proved to be surprisingly therapeutic to operate. Each crunch of metal was like erasing a line item from his monthly budget. Sarah brought him lemonade around 2 p.m., surveying the chaos with unconcealed delight. You know what this means, right? She asked, unfolding a dog-eared sketch she'd kept in her desk drawer for years. 4 raised beds here, the butterfly garden in the back corner, and the rain garden where all that water kept pooling by the filter system. Mike wiped sweat from his forehead, leaving a streak of dirt. Let me get this mess cleared first before you start planting, woman, he laughed. But he was just as excited. 8 years of chlorine, pH testing, and skimming dead insects was coming to a liberating end. Dad, are you sure about this? Emma, their 14-year-old, had finally emerged from her bedroom, eyeing the destruction with unexpected concern. What about when Maddie and Zoe come over? When was the last time you actually swam in this thing? Mike asked gently. Not just sat on the edge with your phone, but actually swam. Emma's silence was answer enough. Tyler, appearing behind his sister with characteristic teenage timing, just as the work was nearly finished, seemed even less concerned. Cool. Can we get a basketball hoop now? He asked, already turning back toward the house. By late afternoon, the excavator had done most of the heavy lifting. The aluminum frame was stacked in piles for recycling, the liner cut into manageable sections for disposal. Mike was surprised by how little he felt watching the dismantling. The pool had seemed so permanent, such a fixture of their family life, yet it was coming apart with remarkable ease. Their neighbor to the left, old Mr. Jenkins, wandered over with 2 beers, handing one to Mike. Always thought that thing was an accident waiting to happen, he remarked, watching the proceedings. My grandson nearly fell in last summer trying to retrieve a ball. Patricia on your right side been by yet? Mike shook his head, accepting the beer gratefully. No, why? Mr. Jenkins chuckled. That woman has opinions on everything. Cited me for my non-regulation mailbox last spring. There are no regulations. She made them up and printed them on official-looking letterhead. Well, it's my yard, Mike said, taking a long swig. Can't imagine she'd care about my pool. Mr. Jenkins' eyebrows shot up with amusement. Son, Patricia cares about everything, especially things that don't concern her. Just wait. As if summoned by her name, a curtain twitched in the window of the large colonial house to their right. Mike caught a glimpse of a figure watching. Then the curtain fell back into place. Speak of the devil, Mr. Jenkins murmured. Storm's coming, and I don't mean the weather. Good luck, Mike. As the older man ambled back to his own yard, Mike felt the first twinge of unease. He glanced at the now exposed patch of earth where the pool had stood. Somehow, he sensed this project was about to become more complicated than he'd anticipated. You're imagining things, he told himself, taking another drink. It's just a pool. Who could possibly object to me removing my own pool? The universe, as if eager to answer his question, was already setting events in motion next door. Sarah emerged from her makeshift design studio Tuesday morning with dark circles under her eyes, but a triumphant smile. She'd stayed up until 3 a.m. finishing her garden designs. I called in a favor from my old landscape architecture professor, she announced, spreading elaborate renderings across the kitchen table. He helped me calculate the exact stormwater retention capacity. This garden will actually improve drainage for the entire block. Mike whistled appreciatively. This is professional grade work. It is professional, Sarah said, a hint of wistfulness in her voice. This is what I was supposed to be doing before the twins came along, and I put my career on hold. Their moment was interrupted by the doorbell. Mike sighed, expecting another bureaucrat summoned by Patricia's relentless complaints. Instead, they found Mrs. Abernathy, the 78-year-old president of the local garden club, accompanied by 3 other senior citizens. We heard about your garden plans, Mrs. Abernathy announced without preamble, and about Patricia's interference. The tiny woman with steel gray hair and gardening gloves, worn like permanent accessories, handed Sarah a thumb drive. That contains the plant inventory for our community greenhouse. Take whatever you need. We've been wanting to put that woman in her place for years. One of her companions, a gentleman using a cane, nodded vigorously. She tried to have my Japanese maple removed, claimed it was an invasive species. It's been in my family for 3 generations. The garden club stands with you, Mrs. Abernathy declared. All 27 of us. Sarah was nearly in tears. Would you like to see the designs? While the garden club cooed over Sarah's plans, Mike's phone buzzed with a text from Dave. Channel 5 van just pulled up at Patricia's. Local news. Not kidding. Mike stepped onto his front porch and stared in disbelief. A news van was indeed parked in front of Patricia's house. You've got to be kidding me, he muttered. Tyler appeared beside him. Dad, you need to see this. He held out his laptop, open to the local news station's Facebook page. Nay HBR 80DISPUT. Torrance talks IC. Local homeowner claims environmental disaster in Sunnyvale Estates. Tune in at 5. The accompanying photo showed Patricia looking appropriately concerned, standing near Mike's yard with the dismantled pool visible in the background. "That's it," Mike said, pulling out his phone. "Two can play this game." He called his college roommate, who now worked as an environmental journalist for a rival news station. "Hey, Jeff. Remember when I helped you move apartments 3 times in 1 year? I'm calling in that favor." By noon, a second news van had arrived, this one parking in the Bennett's driveway. The young reporter, armed with Sarah's designs and a statement from the city's environmental officer confirming the benefits of the planned garden, conducted interviews with several neighbors who had experienced Patricia problems. Patricia's wine club friends watched in horror from her driveway as the narrative shifted from rogue homeowner destroys property values to local family champions, sustainable landscaping against neighborhood bully. The Hendersons, who had been filming since Sunday, had compiled a greatest hits reel of Patricia's confrontations with various neighbors over the years. Someone, Mike suspected Dave, had created a TikTok account called Karen Next Door, featuring these clips set to increasingly ridiculous music. Even Harold seemed to be distancing himself. When Patricia stormed out to confront the second news crew, he remained conspicuously inside the house. "This isn't about a pool anymore, is it?" Sarah asked, watching the spectacle unfold from their living room window. "It never was," Mrs. Abernathy said sagely, sipping her tea. "Some people just can't stand not being in control." As Patricia stormed off, Officer Reyes pulled out a small notebook. "Sir, for our records, would you mind if I took some photos of the work area, just to document that everything's in order?" "Please do," Mike said, grateful for the officer's professionalism. "I'd like an official record given everything." While Officer Reyes photographed the dismantled pool and work area, Officer Daniels lowered his voice. "Between us, this isn't the first call we've had about Mrs. Wilkins. She's what we diplomatically call a frequent flyer at the station." "Meaning?" Sarah asked, still holding the coffee pot. "Meaning half the department has been to her house for one complaint or another. The Martinez family's basketball hoop, the Thompsons' visiting RV, the Patels' their worldly decorations." He trailed off, shaking his head. "Gets exhausting." Mike noticed Mrs. Henderson, across the street, was still recording with her phone. He waved, and she waved back enthusiastically. "Hey, Mike," she called. "Don't worry, I'm documenting everything for you. Patricia tried to get our bird feeder removed last month." Other neighbors were nodding in solidarity. Mike felt a surprising wave of gratitude. He'd lived here for 9 years, but had never felt this connected to his neighborhood. Officer Reyes returned, tapping on his phone. "Just sent those photos to your email, sir. And I've noted in our report that this is a fully compliant residential project." "Thank you," Mike said sincerely. As the officers prepared to leave, Mike's phone dinged with multiple notifications. He checked the screen and groaned. "She's posting again," he told Sarah. "Now she's claiming we're starting an unsanctioned commercial nursery and violating zoning laws." "Mommy, why is Mrs. Wilkins so mean?" The small voice came from the Chen's yard next door, where 7-year-old Lily was watching the scene unfold from her swing set. Mrs. Chen looked mortified. "Lily, that's not polite." "But she made Daddy take down our treehouse," Lily persisted. "And she yelled at my birthday party for being too loud." Mrs. Chen, normally reserved, met Mike's eyes with unexpected solidarity. "We'll bring cookies for your garden volunteers, Mike. Just tell us when." As the officer's car pulled away, Mike's phone rang again. It was Dave from down the street. "Dude, you're not going to believe this. Patricia just called an emergency meeting of the non-existent neighborhood association. She's setting up folding chairs in her driveway." Mike peered down the street. Sure enough, Patricia and Harold were arranging chairs in a semicircle. A handwritten sign on poster board read, "Emergency Homeowners meeting. Stop the destruction." "How many people are there?" Sarah asked, leaning in to hear Dave's response. "Just her and Harold so far," Dave laughed. "And her sister from 2 streets over. Oh wait, Stan Miller just showed up, but he argues with fire hydrants, so no surprise there." Mike rubbed his temples, feeling the beginnings of a headache. I need to finish this project before she organizes a full-scale rebellion. Too late, Sarah said, pointing to her phone. She's created a Facebook group called Save Our Subdivision. It already has 7 members. Out of 122 houses, Mike replied dryly. I'm terrified. Don't get cocky, Sarah warned. 7 determined people with nothing better to do can cause a lot of trouble. As if to prove her point, their doorbell rang. Standing on the porch was a thin man with a clipboard and an officious expression. Mr. Bennett, I'm from the County Water Authority. We've received reports of possible groundwater contamination at this address. Behind him, Patricia stood at the edge of their yard, arms crossed in triumph. As winter gave way to spring, the Bennett's transformed backyard began to fulfill its promise. Native wildflowers emerged in carefully planned drifts, attracting the first bumblebees of the season. The rain garden, strategically positioned where the pool's filter system had once stood, captured runoff from the recent storms, preventing the flooding that had once plagued the neighborhood after heavy rains. Mike found himself spending more time outdoors than he had in years, even installing a small patio where he could sit with his morning coffee. Sarah had discovered a renewed passion for landscape design, taking on several paying clients from the neighborhood after the success of their yard transformation. Have you seen Patricia lately? Sarah asked one Saturday morning as they sat on the patio. I haven't noticed her car in a few days. Mike shook his head. Harold mentioned she's been volunteering at the botanical gardens downtown, teaching children about pollinator plants, if you can believe it. The tentative peace that had formed between the households remained fragile but intact. Patricia had never explicitly apologized. Mike suspected she wasn't capable of it, but the cease and desist order had effectively ended the hostilities. The occasional nod when checking mail was as much civility as either party expected, until the storm. In late April, an unseasonable deluge dropped nearly 5 inches of rain in 24 hours. Basements throughout Sunnyvale estates filled with water as drainage systems failed. Emergency alerts blared on phones as flash flood warnings were issued. Mike and Sarah watched anxiously from their windows as water pooled in the street, but their rain garden and permeable pathways worked exactly as designed, channeling water safely away from their foundation. A frantic knocking at their door revealed a soaked Harold Wilkins. It's Patricia, he gasped. Our basement is flooding, her crafting supplies, all her photos. She can't move everything herself. I don't know who else to ask. Mike didn't hesitate. Grabbing raincoats and boots, he and Tyler followed Harold through the downpour to the Wilkins house. They found Patricia in the basement, water already ankle-deep, desperately trying to save boxes of photo albums. Her normally perfect hair hung in wet strands. Her mascara streaked down her cheeks. We'll take the photos first, Mike said calmly, wading toward her. Tyler, get those plastic bins from our garage. Patricia looked up, her expression a complex mixture of humiliation and gratitude. Without a word, she handed Mike a waterlogged album. For 3 hours, they worked alongside each other, salvaging what they could, forming a human chain to move boxes to higher ground. When the water finally receded, leaving a muddy mess behind, Patricia's precious memories had been saved. The drainage patterns, Patricia said quietly as they finished, looking at the floor rather than at Mike. Your garden really did change them. Our basement never flooded before. Mike tensed, expecting another accusation, but she continued. The water would have gone to your yard first, like it always did, but your garden absorbed it instead of sending it our way. She finally met his eyes. You knew that would happen, didn't you? That's why you designed it that way. Sarah designed it, Mike corrected gently. But yes, that was the plan. Better absorption, less runoff for everyone. Patricia nodded slowly. I never thanked you. For the lavender plant, or for understanding about, she couldn't finish the sentence. You don't need to, Mike assured her. Some wounds never fully heal. As they stood in the wreckage of her basement, an unexpected understanding passed between them. Not friendship exactly, but something approaching mutual respect. My garden club meets Thursdays, Patricia said suddenly. They've been asking about the rain garden design. Perhaps Sarah might consider a guest presentation.